the one promised from all the way back in the Garden of Eden. The seed promise that goes all the way through the Old Testament. You're it. The day we've been looking for is today. The moment God's people have been waiting for forever, literally, is now. And Peter says, you're it. You're the Christ. You're the Messiah. And I'm going to switch over to Matthew 16 to get a little bit more detail as Matthew's account of this story. Jesus answered and said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who's in heaven. And I also say to you that you are Peter." Now, he'd given him that name a while back. When he first met him, he said, "You know what? Everybody calls you Simon. I'm calling you Rock." That's what Peter means. I'm calling you Rock. And now in this moment, he says, "But I say to you, you're Peter." Remember when I gave you that name? It was for this moment, Peter. You've lived up to it. I say to you, you're Peter, and on this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. And I'll give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. It is Peter's greatest moment. It is his best day. You say, "Peter, what was the high point of your time with Jesus?" He said, "Man, it's the day he said, 'Who do you say that I am?' And I got it. And I said, 'You're the Messiah.'" And Jesus said, "Congratulations, Peter. You win the prize. Congratulations, Peter. God revealed this to you." Peter says, "It was the day that I was the first person ever to declare, you're the guy. You're the Christ, the Messiah." And Jesus said, "You finally lived up to that name I gave you all that time ago. You're Peter. You're really Peter now. You're the Rock." You get it. Because the word Peter means a little piece of a rock. It's a big rock, like a hand-sized rock. But it fell off of a larger one. He says, "Peter, you're a chip off the big block. I say to you, you're Peter." You get it. And on this rock, and he uses the word Petra, which means a cliffside, a mountain, I'm going to build my church. Peter, you get it. Now you see why I named you that in the first place. And Peter, I'm going to give you the keys of the kingdom. They're yours. Here you go. And because Peter gets it and all the other disciples get it, Jesus said they're ready. They're finally ready. I can explain some things to them that they weren't ready to hear yet, but now they're there. Peter has just spoken these words, "You're the Christ." And because he said that, Jesus said, "I can tell you some things. I'm building a church here." And Peter, that confession you just made is the heart of everything this church is going to be about. And I got to teach you. So switch back to Mark chapter 8. Verse 31, Jesus began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed. And after 3 days rise again. Now Peter's listening to this. Simon had been walking with the apostles, but now it's Peter. Man, he gets it. He's on fire. He's having his best day ever. He just nailed it. And then Jesus begins to talk, and he says, "Let me tell you what that means. The Son of Man," and Peter would have said, I think you meant Son of God, Jesus. "The Son of Man must suffer many things." And Peter says, "What? He'll be rejected by the elders and chief priests and the scribes." And Peter says, "No, he's the King of Israel. He's the one we're waiting for." And Jesus says, "He'll be rejected and he'll be killed." And this is David's interpretation, but it's, at least in my mind, that's where Peter said, "Okay, that's it. Jesus, you're talking crazy talk. The Son of God doesn't die. The Messiah doesn't get killed." And I think Peter probably heard Jesus say he'll be killed, and Peter didn't even hear the rest of it. Because he's going to be shocked later on when Jesus rises again after 3 days. And the text is going to say, "And then they remembered." And it's like Peter's going to say, "Oh yeah, he was still talking." But Jesus says he'll be killed. And Peter says, "Not on my watch, you won't. I'm Peter. I got the keys to the kingdom. I'm your rock, Jesus. I got this. But you need to understand something real quick. I got to set Jesus straight." It sure didn't take Peter long to get the big head, did it? Jesus pays him one compliment, and Peter says, okay, let me show you something, Jesus. So he spoke this word openly. So Peter took him aside. He's like, Jesus, I can't do this in front of everybody. Can I have a word with you? So Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. It's almost hard to say that. Peter shakes his finger at Jesus. Quit this crazy talk. We're leading a movement here. You're founding a church here. You're going to be the king of Israel. This is going to be great. You can't talk about this, suffer and rejected and get killed. We can't have that. Jesus, knock it off with the crazy talk. Peter rebukes him. He says, that'll never happen. You see, Jesus, I just told you you're the Christ. I just said you're the Messiah. Now let me teach you what it means to be the Messiah. Because see, I got it all figured out. I got a plan, Jesus. I got it mapped out. Here's what we need to do. Follow me. I'll lead the way. I got this covered. And step number one is cut all the crazy talk out. So he rebuked him. But when he had turned around and looked at his disciples, they've stepped away from the group, remember? Jesus turned around and looked at his disciples. He rebuked Peter, saying, get behind me, Satan, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men.